up and sitting down and knowing their precise cues. And this has been going on for some 31 years, 36, I'm sure, but under the tutelage of one individual who put so much time into this. And Adrian Behrens, I want to thank you as well. I don't know what I would do without your assistance and your guidance and insight. So far, I haven't missed a page cue yet. It was my first time in Jerusalem, my 19th year. Moments before, I had stood trembling in front of the massive stones. They stood as they have stood for 2,500 years, defiant, hopeful, faithful, each marked with age, signs of wind and rain and bullets etched into their old but regal face. It was a first Shabbat in Israel. The air was magnetic. It was alive, warm, tangible. The music of thousands of Jews welcoming the Sabbath bride still danced in the air. The stones of the wall had called to us. I had tried to hold off at first, to take it slowly, unsure of my emotions. I felt as if I were coming before the heavenly throne. I felt the stones could read my entire history, my life, that they knew every prayer that I had ever uttered. I literally trembled with fear and with awe. The square was packed with people coming and going, their acquaintances with the wall already having been made. Time fell away. I found myself standing directly before it. I reached out my hand and touched the smooth, dimpled surface. Immediately the sounds rushed at me. Millennia of tears and joy, of sacrifice and service, of glorious pomp and surging flame, fed itself upon me, drawing my spirit from every part of my being, exchanging my story with its own. A million eyes read my life, welcomed me, embraced me, filled me with a new spirit as vibrant as they were old. They were the voices of those who too had been to this site. They were the voices of those whose lifelong dream I now fulfilled on their behalf. I cried for the experience. I cried for the completely overwhelming presence with which the voices surrounded me. I cried for the wordless voice I could hear beyond the din but couldn't make out. As I walked back, I saw in the faces of the crowd the faces of our history, from before the temple to the modern day, those of whom I had studied in religious school, those who spoke to me but moments ago. I half expected to see the Messiah himself, and in that moment I would not have been surprised if I had. Eventually I climbed to the top of the stairs that led from the courtyard to the wall below, to the Jewish quarter above. Myriads of Jewish images ascended and descended the stairs like angels on Jacob's ladder. They came and went up and down. I studied each one with my new given spirit. I marveled at the sense of familiarity it lent. I knew in a way that only such a moment could instill that I had come home. I had come to our source. Much has changed since my 19th year, for me as well as for the land of our collective beginning. Back then, she was a decade or two behind the Western world in terms of convenience and infrastructure. Today, Israel is as modern and cutting edge as the most advanced of nations, and in many, many ways, even more so. Today, Israel is where nations from North and South America, India and China, go for expert advice and scientific know-how. And you know, what's truly amazing to me is that where all of these other nations have had hundreds, if not thousands, of years to achieve their success. Israel has achieved it in only 63. Despite her neighbors, despite their wars of aggression, despite absorbing over 5 times her original citizenry, despite her relatively small size, both in landmass and population, it can fit into California 17 times. And despite being a country that has, aside from the minerals of the Dead Sea, no natural resources whatsoever, no indigenous fresh water, no forests, no oil, no ore, Israel thrives. Well, truth be known, Israel does have one natural resource, but it doesn't come from the earth. It is a resource that actually we have carried with us wherever we have gone. It is the resource of the mind, of the imagination, of the perseverance, of the determination and the tenacity, and most important, of the chutzpah to survive and to thrive, no matter what the world is about. To wit, settle your teeth. That's a bad example. Settle your minds, wrap your minds around these facts. We'll chew on something later. At her very young age, Israel has the highest number of university degrees per capita in the world, where the U.S. has a ratio of 85 scientists and technicians per 1,000 in the workforce, 85, Israel has 135. Since 2000, Israel has 3 times more Nobel laureates per capita than the next highest ranked countries. Its economy, at $100 billion, is larger than the economies combined of all of its neighbors. It produces more scientific papers per capita than any other nation, and has one of the highest per capita rates of patents filed. It also has the largest number of startup companies in the world in proportion to its size. It ranks, this is amazing, it ranks 3rd after America, after China, for NASDAQ-listed companies. And in relation to its population, it beats both the U.S. and China. Israel is the first country to invest in a nationwide network of electric cars and battery swapping stations throughout the state and drive over power technology. This is the most amazing thing. They insert plates under the road, and as you drive over these plates, they generate energy. Directly because of its medical devices, medicine, inventions, Israel saves lives, more lives from around the world per capita than any other country. And every year, Israel conducts nearly 300 courses for emerging nations. It's trained 200,000 participants in 130 countries. It discovered a cure for river blindness, not because Israel was suffering from it, but because there were 11 African nations that were. Israel developed the AIDS treatment that targets and destroys 40% of HIV-infected cells without affecting any other healthy cell. Its Save a Child's Heart program performs free open-heart surgeries for underprivileged children from around the world, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, and amazingly, 49% of those patients are from Palestinian communities, from Jordan, Iraq, and Morocco. Israel is almost always first on the scene when international disasters strike, most recently in Japan, Haiti, Turkey, Greece, and she was the first to offer assistance when Katrina struck. She was turned down, by the way, because the president at the time did not want to offend Saudi Arabia. She was also among the few nations to take in the Vietnamese poultry. Over 90% of Israel's water heaters are solar powered. Her drip irrigation, her solar, and her desalinization technologies are employed around the globe. Israel was the first country in the world to adopt the Kimberley process to ensure that diamonds are conflict-free. Instant messaging, firewall security software, Intel wireless computer chips, nanotechnology, Pentium 4 and Citrino chips, voicemail technology, VoIP technology, and the cell phone were all developed in Israel. Israel is the only country in the Middle East that protects minority rights, including the freedom of religion and sexual and gender equality. She is the only country in the Middle East where the Christian population has actually grown in the last half-century. In fact, Israel is one of the most progressive countries in the world, beating out our own regarding women's rights and opportunities. Women make up the majority of students in higher education. They serve in the military, they serve in the government, and they have full reproductive rights and personal freedoms guaranteed and enshrined in law. The entire Middle East, only Israel received the number one rating for political rights from Freedom House, a nonpartisan, if you will, operation that values democracy and freedom around the world. When Torah said that through you will the peoples of the earth be blessed, it wasn't kidding. It meant what it said. But why, when as a country it is still so challenged by the hate of its neighbors, the twisted genocidal ideologies of the Palestinian Authority, the double standards of the UN, why bother with the world at all? Well, maybe it's because of what we read today, because repentance, prayer, and charity heal. Because we, as Jews in Israel as a nation, possess a moral compass that orients us as partners with God. Of course, most of what I read never makes it to the press. And I dare say that most of us weren't aware of the majority of the statistics that I just shared, or even of the deceptive, the vicious ways that history has been manipulated by Israel's Arab detractors, to the point where the world now believes there has always been a Palestinian people, that Israel stole their land, and that Israel is essentially an apartheid government. That we hear. That's not true. But what the world thinks, I guess, is really just the world's problem, and not what I want to address today. I don't think we might ever change their opinions. When I began these remarks, I reminisced about my spiritual homecoming some 31 years ago. My love of Israel, the land of our people, is deeply rooted in my soul. I am exceptionally proud of her achievements, even as I am critical of her problems. I have had the great blessing to bring hundreds of adults, and now, actually, that I think about it, over 1,000 teenagers, to walk her paths, to connect with their cousins, to feel her energy and link themselves with her history, her present, her future. But over those 31 years, things had a certain manageable consistency to them. Her enemies, though many times larger, were armed with inferior weaponry. They were poorly trained, and they lacked the will born of the knowledge that every fight was a literal fight for life, a knowledge that every Israeli soldier carries within them. Over those years, things improved. We signed a peace treaty with Egypt, and then with Jordan, and later on and off again, entered into relationships of convenience with other Eastern and African nations. So my friends, times are changing very rapidly. The Arab Spring has put new threats and new realities on the table. Where despots have been removed, fundamentalists, long suppressed by those despots, are testing the waters of power. The lack of sophistication when it comes to understanding and appreciating international politics, the intractable corner they keep seeming to dig themselves into, and the lack of any true desire for peace on behalf of the PA has, as of its bid for unilateral declaration of independence before the UN, placed it, with Israel, on a potentially disastrous path. Non-state terror groups are increasingly well-armed and trained. Their weaponry from Russia and the black market, the funding that they have to purchase it from Iran and Syria, makes their ability to strike deep and accurately into the heart of Israel. And that is an absolute and current threat, non-existent a year ago. America's and our allies' involvement over the last decade of war has eaten away at our resources and our collective will to confront the true destabilizing influences in the region, Iran and Pakistan and Syria, who now, when we are battle-weary, when we are calling our troops home, are more dangerous than ever before. For all of her chutzpah, her strength, her skill, for all of her advances and her military prowess, one thing stands between Israel and annihilation. That one thing is America's commitment to her security. More accurately, that one thing is the American Jewish lobby, which refuses to let that commitment slip for any reason. Without America, Israel would not have the guarantee of a veto in the UN Security Council when it came to the manifold biased resolutions considered against her, more than against any other country, even those with proven records of humanitarian abuse. Without America, Israel would not have the resources to keep herself just that much more ahead of her neighbors when it comes to the military advantage. Without America, Israel would not be able to do half the things she does for her people and for the world, as she would have to reallocate that much more of her financial resources to her military. Without America, Israel, in this world, it would cease to be. The American-Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, is the voice and the power of the American Jewish community in Washington. It is the guarantee for America's pro-Israel stance, a source of education for Congress and for the President and for the rest of America. Its tireless professional work has served since its inception to strengthen the ties and cooperation between Israel and the U.S. Each year, AIPAC hosts an annual policy conference in D.C. It is literally the largest gathering of pro-Israel advocates ever, at least in America. Thousands of participants come from every one of the 50 states to take part in 3 of the most important days affecting Israel's future. This year, the conference is being held March 4th through 6th. It will bring together Jewish Americans and scholars, people on the front lines, representatives from Congress, and representatives from the Knesset. It will bring together our President and the Prime Minister of Israel. It will teach the facts behind Israel's story, and it will empower us to be effective advocates on her behalf. I'm pleased, I'm very proud to announce that our congregation, under the direction of Peter Singer and myself, will lead a Temple Adat Shalom delegation mission to the AIPAC conference this year. Hopefully the beginning of one that will continue year after year. Details are going to be coming soon, but I urge you to save the dates now, March 4th through 6th. The conference will energize you like nothing else and will be the spark of informed debate and clarification back here at home. Save the dates. Another decade, another group of individuals. We stand on the grounds of La True, a historical site of honor for the armored division of the IDF and a memorial to the battles fought and those who gave their lives for control of the critical road to Jerusalem preceding the War of Independence. Leary-eyed from an 11-hour trip, adjusting to the heat and the change in time zones, we had some 20 minutes to take it all in before gathering around to witness a ceremony dedicated to the memory of those lost in the Shoah, in the Holocaust. It is Yom HaShoah. All around the country, similar ceremonies are occurring at that very time, at every school, at every cemetery, at every ADF post and base. The sirens sound exactly at the same time, and they fill the air north to south, east to west, calling the dead back to life, calling the living to consciousness. Where we stand, a group of soldiers, none above the age of 19, save the commander of their unit, stand at an informal attention. Not for lack of discipline or caring, it's just how it is. Within the ranks of the IDF, like with the rest of Israeli society, the formality we associate with the military is unnecessary. They leave precision to those moments when life, more often than not, hangs in the balance, and at age 18 and 19, much more often than should ever be. The ceremony is short. Prayers and poems are read, songs are sung, yet throughout the day, as with the evening before, the mood in Israel is reflected. How many might have lived if Israel had been established before 35? How many have died since because the hatred then had only shifted to another geographic location? It is a heavy week to be in Israel. 5 days, couched between commemorating the Holocaust on the one end and memorializing Israel's fallen soldiers and victimized relatives on the other. The sirens sound on both Yom HaShoah and Yom HaZikaron, Memorial Day. They are told not only for our dead, but for each one of us as well. Within Israel, for 7 days sits a nation in a common house of Shiva, the dead and the living reaching out to console the other. Grief is a common experience in Israel. No soul has escaped the pain of loss before its time. No eye has been spared the shedding of tears. No mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, cousins, lovers, friends' heart does not wear the black ribbon of Kriyah. And yet grief is not the all-pervasive experience in Israel. The Israeli psyche pairs its grief with an emotion equally as strong. Tikva, hope. For every cry, there is laughter. For every shovel of soil to the grave, there is a hammer to build a future. For every violence rained down, there is a dream to be born. Only in Israel can mourning set the stage for celebration. Only in Israel can the single forward beat of the minute hand move the nation from heartache to exuberance. The day before we leave for home, the nation erupts in joy. Independence Day begins the very second Memorial Day ends. The flag assumes its full mast position, and around the country, a collective voice joins in the national anthem, Hatikva, the hope, marking its blue and its white ascendance. So much power in that little word. With its utterance, though, the lights of fireworks open the sky. Music and dancing, laughter and salutations roll through the streets. They pour from the valleys. The dead return to the grave. The living return to life. Let us face tomorrow with hope, sing the balladeers. May peace yet come to us and to all the world, they chant. You and I together have the power to change the world. Let us sing for peace. Any nation or people on earth deserve the right to be an apartheid state, well, it's Israel. And if any nation or people on earth deserve to raise their children to honor death more than life in order that they may rain hate and destruction upon their oppressors, it's Israel. If any nation or people on earth deserve the right to castigate, to wage war, to carelessly kill civilians, dehumanize, boycott, annex, turn a cold shoulder, let prejudice flow, or refuse to negotiate, it's Israel. And yet Israel alone among its neighbors and apart from most of the world has never given in. She still, above all, values life, hers and the life of her enemies. Her songs are songs of peace, not military victory. Her speeches are speeches of coexistence, not annihilation. Her school books educate her young to be productive, not sacrificial lambs. Her fervent dream is only to be left alone, not to conquer and rule. Israelis are our brethren. And the country they have created and built upon, the land that is our birthright, is a source of pride to them, to us, to the Jewish people. It is an example for all humanity. She is the haven of our people. She is devoted to our ingathering in time of need. She asks little. She does much, much more than a nation her size should be capable of. She is content often to do it quietly, lest what she do offend some miscreant foreign government. She is a miracle. She, in a dark world true to her historic and divine purpose, offers her people and our world one more gift, the most important gift of all, the gift that God has reserved for humanity, the gift of tikvah, the gift of hope. Hope for peace, hope for justice, hope for love, hope for life. Today, let us pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Let us pray in thanksgiving for the hope she has lit from time immemorial. And let us begin to consider a mission of our own in March, that we may become her advocates